Hi, my name is Mark Selzer. Welcome to the Libertarian Alternative. The Libertarian Alternative is an educational television show brought to your community as a service by the Libertarian Party. Our guest today is Eric Garris of antiwar.com.
Thank you for having me.
Now, thanks for coming out. How long has this website been around?
About 9 years, although it's really taken off in the past 5 years. During the Kosovo Wars when we really got a boost and became a much bigger website.
Is that when it started? Was that the conflict that inspired it?
Actually, it was during the Bosnia War in 1995 that we got it started.
How many hits, going into a little, I guess, lingo here from the web, how many hits do you get on the website?
Well, hits is kind of a vague term. What's more important is how many unique visitors we get. We get about 50,000 unique visitors per day, peaking at 150,000 on some days.
So this is a non-profit website. How does it pay for itself?
Basically contributions. We do quarterly pledge drives. In our last pledge drive, we raised close to $60,000 just off the website. And we also get some small foundation grants, and we have some larger contributors that contribute on a regular basis.
So then there doesn't seem though to be an end. There always seems to be another war, another conflict coming along. It seems like, unfortunately, it looks like the website is maybe here to stay.
Well, unfortunately, we hope to eliminate our jobs eventually, but as Randolph Bourne said, war is the health of the state, and I'm afraid war may also be the health of antiwar.com.
Well, yeah, it looks like maybe, you know, looking into this, it looks like this was the beginning of a campaign into the Middle East of possibly to go into Syria and more countries.
Yes, absolutely. From before 9/11, the neoconservatives who are behind the White House's foreign policy today talked about the invasion of Iraq as a first step toward reforming in their plans the entire Middle East region. They want to turn it into the values that they favor, and are willing to do it with force and by killing a number of people.
Mm-hmm. If you're going to fix the Middle East, just like I guess the other, I always refer to the Republicans as the right-wing socialists and the Democrats as the left-wing socialists. It's kind of like the left-wing socialists want to fix Watts. You know, all their programs are going to fix it, but now it's still a slum. And do you think we'll see the same thing, you know, 40 years later and endless billions of dollars later in the Middle East?
If we're lucky, that's all we'll see. That's actually more of an optimistic possible outcome. What's more likely is that our presence is going to increase the tension and the turmoil in the Middle East and bring a lot of it back home in the form of terrorism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think that that area has any history of democracy at all. I don't see how it's feasible to impose such a thing.
Well, it doesn't seem like it's feasible to impose democracy anywhere. The entire idea of people being able to rule themselves is at odds with an enforced government, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to enforce freedom. We're trying to force liberty on people, and that's a contradiction. It's silly to even think that way. People need to take responsibility for their own lives, for their own community, for their own countries, and they can't look at the United States to try to fix everything. First of all, they can't do it, and second of all, they don't do it well. And the result is not only bad for Iraq, but even more so, it's bad for the United States. It's bad for America. It's bad for our capitalist economy. One of the things that you see that's very interesting when it comes to foreign policy is often you'll see the conservatives using liberal arguments, as you were saying. They'll talk about how it's important to have a strong United Nations. They'll talk about how it's important for us to rebuild the schools and the welfare system in Iraq. Politicians often say, something must be done, this is something, therefore we must do it, without looking at the likely consequences of what they're proposing.
And the media never really reports on what the government program actually does. They report on what the government program intends to do. This is going to give health care to millions, or this is going to end poverty, or this is going to give this group of people that, but they never do any follow-up to show, well, it really didn't work. But the politicians always have an answer for that if it does get reported that it's not working, is that we need another $100 billion.
Right.
That's why it's not working. And that's what happened with this war in Iraq. All the same things we were promised the last time we went into Iraq are the same things we're being promised now. I remember being promised we would take care of Saddam Hussein, stabilize the Middle East, put an end to terrorism, stop the weapons of mass destruction. But now we find out not only that we not only stopped the weapons of mass destruction, that they never existed, and there was never even any potential to even build any. But that's the thing, is that this is just another government program to fix everything. We're being told it's going to fix everything. Now it doesn't work. Now we need another $100 billion.
Right, and you have the same sort of, it's called mission creep when you're talking about foreign policy, but it's the same sort of thing that the government does everywhere else. For example, with the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, that was to save energy. Well, when they found out it was not saving energy, they changed the reasoning behind it. It was to save lives. We went into Iraq to stop Saddam, to stop the weapons of mass destruction, and now we're there to liberate Iraqi women, to rebuild their public education system and the like. The reasoning changes, and you see liberals using conservative arguments and conservatives using liberal arguments for more government, both at home and abroad.
And the liberals and the conservatives are in bed together on this war.
That's right.
The Democrats and the Republicans both support this war, and both the candidates of the parties support this war as well.
That's right. You have both John Kerry and George Bush are in favor of increasing our involvement in Iraq. It's just a question of how they want to do it. John Kerry says he wants to increase troops in Iraq, but he'll do it by bringing in more other nations to participate. Of course, what he doesn't mention, even if he is successful at doing that, is that we pay the bill. All of those other countries that are there, Bulgaria, Romania, that have troops in Iraq, we are paying those bills.
Aha. So how much is the cost of the war per person? I've heard estimates of $3,000, $4,000 per American taxpayer?
Well, as usual with any government project, they try and hide the cost by putting it in a number of places. But what we're talking about is at this point $6 billion a month.
Wow.
And it's not there is no likelihood that that figure is going to decline anytime in the near future. And in fact, if you listen to John Kerry, he would probably increase the amount of money that we're spending on Iraq, because we need, now that we're there, we need to fix everything. And that's the, that's what the government does, is they break things and then they want to spend more money to fix it. And it's just a never-ending circle of more government requires more government.
Of corporate welfare as well. The companies getting the money to do this are the people who have given lots of money to the campaigns of the politicians.
That's right. And this is another thing that, a lot of the left is misinformed about who is behind the war. Yes, Halliburton, which is an organization which has been running our foreign policy under both Democrats and Republicans for years. I mean, I watched recently a documentary on the Vietnam War and was talking about Halliburton's involvement during the Vietnam War under the Johnson administration. They are a company that goes out and makes money off American intervention. But the big